All right. What is going on? Welcome to the next part of the YouTube sales series. Now, after this video here today, there's going to be one more part. Okay, so we are coming to the end of the series. I hope you have all been enjoying it. I appreciate everyone that has been subscribing, leaving beautiful comments. You're all amazing. The episodes have been fairly tactical. The first one, the pre-call one, was the only one that had some sort of things external outside of the sales call. This one is going to be a lot more focused in terms of how you need to show up in life, because that is going to be the biggest thing that dictates your performance on sales calls. Now, obviously, most people here know that I'm inside of Josh Lyons' mastermind. I've been there for basically a year. I think in 3 days from the day of recording this, I'll have been there for a year. So yes, the big focus of what he does is all internal mastery things. I'm not going to do things in this video as what he goes through, because that would be, ludicrous to do. I would never disrespect someone in that way. But I do very, very much align and agree with the idea that it is you and your internal mastery and who you are outside of the sales calls that will dictate who you are inside of the sales calls, okay? It will have the biggest knock-on effect. So we will be diving deep into some of the things that I personally do that is not related to anyone else, just things that I have throughout my years of being in sales, just throughout life experience. I'm 28 now. I'm getting a little bit older, right? I'm not old, but, compared to some guy that's getting into sales who's 16, I've got a little bit of life experience under my belt. So we'll be diving deep into the specific things that I do in order to show up as the powerful version of myself on sales calls, because I have chosen to do that throughout life. Let's dive into the iPad. All right. Before we dive into the iPad, I need to pre-frame something, okay? You may have received some of this advice before, definitely not all of it. Some of this is very, very unique to me, okay? And I've tried to create a decent balance between things that you can just do in the moment and ways that you need to be showing up in life consistently, okay? But what I want to pre-frame here is the things that you will have had as advice before, 90% of people choose not to do them, or not, at least not to do them consistently. And you have to understand that that is a choice, okay? And it's one of those things where it's like, we don't necessarily truly think about how every single thing in the present moment, that's the only thing that we can do and control. And that is exactly what dictates the future that you're going to receive, right? The future life that you have created only comes from the actions that you're taking right now in the moment. So all of these small things that you aren't really doing, or that you are doing that are destructive, you've got to bring some level of self-awareness to it. And that was one of the biggest things that really started to click a lot of things for me, was like, at least having awareness of like, this thing isn't going to help me, right? And then it's like, and then we start to weigh it up, and I will write out the things of how it's destructive and what that will likely have as a knock-on effect if I continue to do those things, okay? So we're going to dive in. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of things that you can do basically just on a day that you have sales calls, like before a sales call or during a sales call. There will also be things that are more of a commitment to consistency, because you have chosen the path of greatness, okay? If you are the person that is okay being very, very, very average, then like, I can't really help you, okay? And I've said this countless times before. I don't necessarily think we've done too much of a backstory on this YouTube yet, but anyone that's been on my coaching calls knows I wasted like the first 23 years of my life, right? Or if you want to only class, like adulthood, right? So like from 18 to like 23, wasted, just drinking and partying and really amounting to nothing, okay? So I had to buckle in for the last 4 or 5 years and really, really commit, because I had let time slip by. And don't fall into that trap of thinking, well, I have time, right? I do have time, but I could have been so much fucking further ahead if I had just pulled away from the bullshit that society pushes down your throat, okay? So with that being said, into the iPad. So the very first thing, I've already mentioned this on the very first one, but I want to just hone in on it a little bit more. Visualize the deal, manifest that bitch, okay? And I've said this before, when I take a sales call, and this, now that I have the iPad, I can kind of show you. Let's say I was taking a call with myself, right? I would write up my name on the left-hand corner. I would write any specific pain points or areas that I know are just good to basically have written down in front of me so I can reference back to them if needed from their application notes. And then if it was a 10K package, I would literally right at the top, and I would literally write out exactly what I think they're going to say, right? So 10K, and then they would say, oh, wow, that's a lot, right? For example. Okay, something like that, right? And then I would just circle it off, and I would have my, pre-call notes, right? So da-da-da-da-da, like this. And then the rest would be my actual notes that I'm taking on the sales call, okay? On a pen and paper, right? This is how I live my life constantly, right? Through this. This should be how you do it. You shouldn't be typing up your notes. It makes you look distracted, yada, 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 right? I don't want to touch on that. We already touched on it in the first video. But this is what it would look like if I was taking a sales call with myself, right? So I'm literally already like visualizing, okay, how are they going to respond to this? Oh, wow, that's a lot. But I do need this. And we just sit in the silence, right? I'm picturing myself sitting in the silence and watching them close themselves, right? And I'm already manifesting this. And then when I get to the end of the call and I've price dropped, which is right here, I just, not for a long time, you don't want to like look like you're not present anymore, but I will just glance down at what I wrote and I just kind of smile, mainly internally, and I just look back and I just embrace the silence with a level of absolute certainty now because of this, okay? So this is a small one, but this is just something that is, I'm telling you, it was a game changer when I implemented this because I just came in with a level of conviction and certainty, okay? So that is number one. Number two, we are going to go a little bit more generic. Cold showers, right? And now I'm going to go against all of the health benefit side of it. Obviously, everyone knows and has seen, and you can do your own research on the health benefits, right? The reason that I am going to suggest it is basically for this reason.
You're a pussy.
Unfortunately, life is all about the hardships. And every single time you put yourself into a position of hardship, you will grow because you are just becoming more resilient as a person, okay? And if we can reframe, and this is now what I do continuously in life, so again, we might kind of touch into some of these, but I constantly reframe it. It's not a hardship, right? It is a good thing. I am literally thankful, right? I'm doing it and I'm thankful because it brings to awareness how alive I feel. It brings to awareness that I'm pushing through a challenge that will grow me, okay? And I reframe everything. Every time I have a bad experience now, something that would have debilitated me a few years ago when I was weaker, I'm now like, holy shit, what am I going to be able to be like after I've fully made it through this scenario, right? And I start writing those things out, okay? But cold showers, yes, there's a ton of health benefits to it. Every single day I do a cold shower, okay? Now, for me personally, and this may go, I don't know what the advice is these days online. I don't really give a shit either. But like, I don't actually like shower in the cold, right? I do my shit, I wash, blah, blah, blah. And then I just crank that shit up as cold as it will humanly go. It literally feels like it's splitting my skin open. And I will do it for like, 2-3 minutes, right? And I do that every single day, so that's obviously 2 to 3 minutes times by 7, which is enough cold exposure for the week, basically. So that is number 2, right? These are the little things you need to be optimizing into, okay? Number 3, feel like a badass. And what I mean with this a little bit as well is life is a game. Now, what the hell does this mean, okay? I will tell you. Life is a game. We all get way too in our own head, and it just completely is just a block to results, right? We are just creating this own internal block towards getting results. Now, what do I mean specifically by being able to do this? Now, it actually can be anything, to be honest, right? Anything that will allow you to shake yourself off and look at life as a game. Now, how do I do it specifically? I've just taken a sales call. Let's say they didn't close. I got tons of objections. It was just brutal. They were pissing me off, yada, 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 right? I don't have those types of feelings towards sales calls anymore because I've worked on myself enough. But let's just hypothesize. Let's just hypothesize that did happen. How would I then shake it off? We load up the next Zoom, okay? And I try and recommend this for any teams that I'm running because I would love to watch this in the recordings because I know that the more that you treat life as a game and you're enjoying the process, you will get way better results, okay? So you load up your new Zoom, right? They can stay in the waiting room for 45 seconds, right? They're not going to die in there, okay? We load up the Zoom, we throw on the Top Gun anthem or any song of your choice that is giving a similar vibe. And as you do it, you just throw on some sunglasses and you just look at yourself in the screen. And you just kind of, in that moment, you kind of feel a bit like a badass, but you're also joking. But it's just this little like, you're not taking yourself seriously. And it just shakes off any residue that was left from the previous call. Like, whatever happened in that call, it's done. Nothing can fucking happen about it, okay? If anyone's listened to any Wayne Dyer audiobooks, he talks about it, right? The force of a boat is not the trail that is left behind, okay? It's not the wake of a boat. It is the engine, right? You are the engine. But most people in their life, they focus on all of the things that have happened already. That is undeniable. It's happened. You can't do anything about it. It's the trail of a fucking boat. There's nothing you can do with it, right? What you can focus on is you are the engine. You are the driving force only in the present moment, okay? So who gives a shit what happened on that last call? Shake it the fuck off. Have a little laugh about it. 40 seconds. Boom. Let them in. How do you think your energy is going to feel for them? Let's remove the selfish nature of like, oh, I feel better now. How do you think it's going to feel for them if you've just been that person, you shook it off, you listened to the Top Gun anthem, you put some shades on for a second, you just felt like life and, you know, is good and you're free and you kind of shake your shoulders, right? And then you let them in. And then there is this feeling of familiarity when they jump on the call with you. Hey, man, how you doing today? Oh, they're like, who's this person? Yeah, I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for asking. Well, I know we've got a limited amount of time. Are you ready to just crack into things, right? It's like, I'm not going to be needy. I'm not going to be like, oh my God, so excited to see you type of bullshit, right? But I am going to be like nice inflection. There's a feeling of good energy. I'm grounded, right? All of that shit. And this is what's important, okay? So that is number 3. So we had to come back in because I realized that I was muted. After the sunglasses, I was muted. Now, that will nicely lead into one of the points that we have in terms of emotional stability and reframing things, okay? But I'm going to actually just touch over the madman scribbles that I've already created here. So, removing low frequency activities, okay? So the goal here is being intentional, right? And what I mean with that is most people are not intentional at all in their life. Right? They are essentially just continuously reactive, okay, as you can see down here. So when I am going for a walk, I'm listening to an audiobook or a call review, right? Because I no longer listen to music unless I am playing guitar pretty much, right? I have a little beast next to me, right? So yeah, when I'm playing guitar, it's like, okay, this is, again, me being intentional, I'll block it off on my calendar, is like, okay, I'm gaining a skill whilst doing this, okay? But when I'm walking, right, when I'm just kind of going around, I want to remove, like, whilst music is nice to listen to, and every now and then I might listen to it, like, if I take a shower and stuff like that. Like, I'm not saying don't have a nice life and don't enjoy certain things in life, right? I love music. But what I am saying is, like, if I'm going for a 30-minute walk, I can either choose just to sort of enjoy some music whilst walking, or I can choose to basically absorb something that is actually going to help me. It's actually going to grow my own mind, right? And it also just is ensuring that with music, we're often let in these certain lyrics and just things that are not even our own thoughts in the first place, okay? So that's what I'm doing there. When it comes to the gym, I did used to do this, but it's sort of hard to get a good workout in doing this. So I don't always do this anymore. Now I'll often listen to instrumental, right? Again, I mentioned the reason why for the lyrics, okay? Social media, such an obvious one, but still most people are very, 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 very consumed by it. I have something which is called Brick. You can look it up. And with that, you tap your phone, you scan it, and it will just lock Instagram altogether. You can't override it unless you go and rescan the thing. So like I have that downstairs, right? So when I'm in my office, I want to, as a force of habit, I don't anymore. But when I first got the Brick, I would like click on Instagram out of just habit. Oh shit, I can't use it, right? And I'm not going to walk all the way down just to unlock it, just to use it. Like I wasn't that addicted, okay? But swap this out and go through a book, right? It's just being intentional, because all of these things will create your reality, right? Because you are setting the intentional to not be a reactive human being that is just doing things because they really feel it, like all of a sudden they have this urge because you've got an addiction. Instead, you have the intention and you have control, right? So again, if you're listening to like the news all the time, like you're allowing, like your thoughts are created through the vessel of someone else, social media, news, whatever it might be, okay? So your entire operating system is not even yours, right? You don't have any of your own original thoughts, and that's something I'm very cautious of. Okay, all right. Obviously, remove drinking drugs, caffeine. You know, I stopped drinking caffeine after 12 p.m. And again, you know, if you're having energy drinks, just swap it out for black coffee, right? Like these little tweaks. In an ideal world, I would give the recommendation of don't drink caffeine as well, but like I drink plenty of caffeine, right? And I think, you know, it's good if you haven't got an addiction to it, but it's one of those things, right? So this is everything that I would say when it comes to this. It's just being intentional with your life, right? Understanding that, like, it's okay to do things that you enjoy that are maybe not the best for you, but if you're continuously doing them and it kind of just happens, you didn't set the intention, that's different. For me, right, I will literally block it off on my calendar. I have a written out schedule, right? And with that, I will literally put like play guitar, right, as a blocked off hour session. So I know, compared to the person who just picks up their guitar when they should kind of be working because they're bored. That's two different types of people. It's doing the same activity, but you're controlling the way that it's done. And this is so important, okay? Now, number 5 is vision board. Now, not the generic type of vision board. I want to go a little deeper into it to really click this, right? This should be something that you look at every fucking day. It should be right in front of you, right? Well, just like mine is, okay? It should be pictures of the things that you desire, but it should be tangible, okay? It shouldn't be like, you know, world peace, okay? Because like that's subjective, right? That's like, how can you define that, right? It should be like, if it's most things on people's vision board, it has a price tag, might be a certain house, it might be a Rolex, whatever, right? But it should be tangible. It should have a date on it. So like, we'll just give Rolex as the example, right? It doesn't matter if it's materialistic. It's like, what actually excites you? Like anything that excites you, it doesn't fucking matter, right? So let's say 10,000 for it, whatever. And it's like, you know, picture of a Rolex, the model that you want of it, 10,000 September as an example, okay? And you have that all filled in, because then it is essentially the action steps. Whereas most people, if you ask them, what do you want? I want a Rolex. Oh, cool. What model do you want? Oh, I don't know. How much is it going to cost you? I don't know. Okay, so you don't actually want it because you've never even really done what is needed to know what the steps would be to get it in the first place. So what's the likelihood that you ever fucking get it, right? So this is the difference there. It's like you go and find what actually excites you. You put it onto this board, and then you make it tangible as to what that is going to cost. So if it's a certain house, like how much is that house actually going to cost you, right? Is how much is the down payment or whatever it might be. It's like creating it and actually having clear, tangible steps so that you can get there. Because you might not have those steps, and you might, you know, if the goal is up here, you might hit here and you think that you've done good because you never really set what that goal needed to be in the first place, right? And this is the difference between that gap of someone that's a performer and someone that's a high performer, okay? So that is number 5. Number 6, winning call. Now, there are two sides to this. If you have a call that is just great, that you think, like, this was a fantastic call from me, and it needs to be great in a magnitude of areas, right? Your energy was great. The questions you were asking were sharp, powerful, they were great, right? All of that stuff, it was just flowing, okay? Like, it doesn't just mean like, oh, you closed the deal. That doesn't necessarily dictate like a great call. We need one that has numerous variables that some are more of a subconscious thing, right? In terms of the energy, you might think, okay, my energy is great, but like you're not gonna hyperanalyze why your energy is great. It's just a feeling, right? So you've got a winning call of yourself, and you just watch this, you know, at the beginning of the day, or even just as a reset. You know, if you've been having a bit of a tough day, you know, you had 3 calls in a row and they were a bit rough, and then you've got a bit of a gap, boom, do that, reset, look into it, okay? The alternative to this is a winning call of someone that is a machine, okay? So if I was you, honestly, I mean, I was singing the praises, right? Like, I would just go watch a fucking Josh Lyons roleplay kind of YouTube video that's out there. Obviously, I have access to that just like in the school community, right? But something like that, right? Like when I personally, because I'm still constantly doing that, right? Even though I'm not really on sales calls these days, I'm more managing the teams. I'm still listening to live trainings or sales call reviews or things that have been done by him or by the Underground Mentor or any of these guys, because like, fuck man, when you jump onto a training or a sales call or anything after that, you've just been absorbing like through osmosis this like power of like, oh my god, these guys are just sharp, they're dialed in, this is amazing, boom, and you're just feeding off of it, and it will massively affect how you then come into your next stuff, right? So this is an ideal one. I used to do this all the time, right? If you've just got that like holy grail call where you're just like, this was the one. I don't know what was wrong with me this day, but I was on fire. I was on smoke. This was the world's best call I've ever done, right? Listen to that and just ground yourself in it, because even when you just feel that call, that will change how you show up, okay? And then the alternative is something like this, or any mentor that you have that you look up to, right? So if you're in sales.io, right, obviously you have core reviews that I've recorded or core reviews that, you know, have been done in the community in general, right? So like, you know, whatever it is, it's just setting that intention of like, okay, I'm going to listen to someone who's maybe further ahead in the sales journey, like further down that path, because just through osmosis, I am going to be able to absorb and grow at an alarming rate. And then you will just take those things that happen there and then onto a call. Okay. Number 7. We're going to call this commit to the season, right? Understand that you are not going to, as much as we may have this belief, or as much as we would love to be able to do this, you are not going to be able to grow everything in your life at the pace that you would want it to, right? In terms of like, oh, well, I want to find the woman or man that I'm going to marry. I want to, you know, hit my first 30K month in sales, right? I want to, you know, become the buffest I've ever been, right? I go crazy at the gym, right? And I want to like do this, I want to do that, I want to do 100 things, right? And it's like, you're not going to be able to achieve all of them, okay? Because you're going to be splitting focus, right? Let's say you had like 5 things, you're going to be giving them all 20% of your focus, as opposed to being like, okay, what's the thing I'm working towards? Boom, I'm going to commit towards sales, and I'm going to put 100% of my focus into it. Now, what that doesn't mean is that these things don't happen at all. You go to the gym, but you maintain, right? Because there is a certain baseline of standard that has been created inside of you and your life now, okay? So this isn't really taking focus if it is just maintaining, right? It's like, okay, I'm going to go 2 times a week, for example, right? 3 times, whatever it might be. Let's say you're going 6 times a week right now, and you bring it down to 3 times so that you maintain, all of that additional focus that has been freed up can now go into the overarching main goal that we are working towards, okay? So you want to commit specifically to the season that you are working into. And then alongside this comes a few variables. So let's say you are now going to work 6 days a week because you're committing to the fucking season, right? You're going to do 6 days a week. You're going to take 7, 8, whatever calls a day, right? Let's say 7 calls a day, okay? Now, I'm going to just do something very quickly. I need to get my phone. It's in a different room because I don't keep my phone here because no distractions. Okay, so let's say that you were, let's not even go crazy with this. Let's just say that you were doing the same number of calls a day, but you were doing 5 days a week. With the calculator out, not like we I don't know when we'll need it, but basically 7 calls a day, 6 days a week, right, is going to be 42 calls. And then if you were remaining, what did we say before? 5 days a week, basically, right? So 7 by 5. So you got 35 going up to 42. Okay. So now every single week you're taking 42 calls, right? Compared to the 35 calls that you were taking. That is obviously 7 calls a day extra. Then we times that across the month, right? So across the month, we're taking 28 calls extra, right? You see where we start to understand the true weight of what, if we just commit to a fucking season, let's say we chose to do this for 3 months, right? We just went balls to the wall. We now have 28 times 3, 84 more opportunities to make money. All right. And it's one of those things. So like, you know, at the end of the day, you then take it okay, I've got 84 more opportunities to make money. Let's take your current close rate, so you would just times it by 30%, 40%, whatever your current close rate is, and then weigh up how much commission you're getting paid. Let's say it's 1K, and you're like, holy fuck. Based on the current amount that I'm doing and my current results and yada, 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 I would make X amount more. Is it worth doing that across a month? Probably, okay? So then you start to really weigh it up, and then you start to actually make it tangible, and you're like, this is why I'm doing it. I'm going to create this amount extra per month, which is going to heighten my baseline as a human being in terms of what I can get to, and then we crush it. Now, here is my personal advice. 6 days a week, you go crazy, and you're doing 7 calls a day, and you basically go for, a run in the morning, or a gym session in the morning, or just a walk in the morning, right? Maybe you get some sun, right? And then you're pretty much on calls for most of the day, right? So then that one day, what do? Well, we just sit and watch Netflix and just eat a bunch of bullshit, right? It's like, that's what honestly a lot of people would choose to do though. Those are some crazy sick, like that was a crazy week. I need to relax. Why is that your go-to to relax? It's your go-to because that is what society has forced onto us, right? Compared to here, do something that ensures that you have congruency and excitement as a person, right? So someone who's living a congruent and fun life. So it literally doesn't matter what it is, right? Go for a hike, go for a road trip somewhere, go to the fucking cinema alone, right? Go on a date, go to a speed blind dating session, right? Go do some shit that scares you. Go approach some 10, 20 strangers and ask something weird. Like, do something that is going to make you feel like in that day you lived a life and you have a story that comes from it. And ideally, from any of these, you are going to kind of push the baseline of your confidence as a person. Because the person who is just doing this won't grow, but they will grow financially. So we still need to have this very clear-cut intention of like, but I am still going to do these things where I'm really getting uncomfortable, okay? Whatever it might be, it doesn't matter, but ideally you want to do something that makes you uncomfortable, right? So like something like this is great because you've then filled your day with something that's putting you out of your comfort zone, which means even more growth. So you're growing financially, but then you're growing as an individual as well. And if you're growing as an individual and growing financially at the same time, they will all continue to rise at an even more exponential rate because this growth as an individual will naturally, as a byproduct, make you more money anyway. But then we've also committed to a heavy season, so it's inevitable we're going to make more money, and it all just amalgamates into more money than you even fucking thought was possible, okay? So these are some heavy scribblings of a madman, but number 7 is commit to the season. Like, choose what do you actually want? What do you actually want? Right? Do you want to make as much money as humanly possible in the next 3 months? Or do you want to focus on finding a girlfriend, right? It's like, just pick one, basically. Okay, number 8. Like I said, this is a total kind of like deep dive into how to master yourself and your internal state, okay? So, number 8 is OMAD. If you don't know what OMAD stands for, that is 1 meal a day. Right? The biggest thing that will hold you back is this brain frog. Maybe a brain frog could hold you back, but brain fog, this sluggishness, these crashes, all of this stuff, okay? So OMAD, 1 meal a day. So basically every single day you're pretty much fasting 24 hours, right? Maybe your window's going to slightly change. You might eat at 6 p.m. one day and you might eat at 4 p.m. the other day, right? But whatever. In general, you are just eating 1 meal a day. Okay, so literally when I eat, it is just a banquet, right? I am just going balls to the wall. Now, obviously, you've got the whole kind of carnivore debate and like non-carnivore and yada yada. The only thing that I do is I just focus on no BS. I'm not like, no carbs and yada yada yada. I just have 0 processed sugar. And I personally have no dairy as well because dairy just fucks me up. Right, so that's my only focus. Other than that, I'm good to go, right? But it's like, it's whole foods, right? It's like, so I'm eating sourdough bread, I'm eating steak, I'm eating eggs every day, I'm eating all the avocado, right? All of this stuff, okay? So that's my only focus. But this changed so much for me, right? I am fasted right now. It is 5 p.m. on Saturday. I am fasted. I had my last meal at I think it was like 8 p.m. yesterday, somewhere around that mark, right? So I will eat roughly around 8 p.m. and I feel amazing. But I never used to. I used to have really bad crashes and all of these types of things, okay? So literally, all you do is drink sparkling water, because it really helps to blunt your appetite, because it's kind of, it feels, because of the bubbles, it kind of feels like it's filling you up. And then black coffee. Right, that's it. Done, dusted, so simple. And again, this is stuff, you've probably heard this advice countless times, fast. But like, are you consistently doing that every single day? Probably not. If you just fast once randomly, you'll probably actually hate it, because it's like you're not used to it. So then you're thinking, oh, I need food, I'm hungry, yada, yada, yada. Compared to when it just becomes, again, a word I use a lot, it just becomes your natural operating system. When you get into that flow state, boom, you are just tapped in, because your body isn't trying to fucking digest a million different things, okay? So this is a lifestyle choice, but it will change so much for you, okay? And that is something that really clicked a lot for me. Okay, number 9. This is, I guess, kind of a unique one. This one I would call reframe, okay? Because we all know the term reframing someone, right? Because of sales. Right, oh, we need to reframe them, we need to objection handle them, we've got to reframe them. But like, the biggest issue is that 90% of closers cannot reframe themselves. So the reframes they do on prospects is pretty shit as a result, right? So I now think of everything as a reframe in my life. I'm just constantly reframing, okay? And the best way to do this is to just write it out and weigh it up. Okay, so what I mean with that is, like, when something happens to you and it's stressful, or it's painful, or it's heartbreaking, right? Whatever it might fucking be, reframe it within your own mind as to like basically from negative to positive. Okay, so I will write exactly what happened. Underneath it, I will write what are the likely growth opportunities that come because of this. Right? And my biggest thing, I've said this on coaching calls before, is to strive towards having gravitas, right? Having just weight. Like, people just feel your presence in a room. It would be undeniable for anyone to say, right? Oh, well, that like you have to fucking go through life and hardships and shitty stuff and negative things in order to have gravitas. So every time now I reframe it, I'm like, good, okay, perfect. This is going to help me towards my goal of having an identity that is undeniable, okay? And I'm looking at it, and I literally will weigh it all up, and I'll be like, okay, boom, I got broken up with, right? I don't date right now, but let's say that was the example, because there's so many people, and we all know them, who have gone through something, and because of it, they're just debilitated. They are just in ruins. They can't even operate. Okay, whereas I'm here writing up, okay, broken up, boom, okay. When you can just go through and you're just like, point by point, what's all the good things that are going to come out from this? Okay, they weren't the right person for me anyway. I'm going to be able to meet someone that is matched to me. Okay, boom, I'm going to be stronger. I'm going to be more resilient because of this. I'm going to be able to handle rejection at a greater rate. I'm going to have higher standards. And I was just fucking ages and do like a deep dive, kind of journaling session into it. All of a sudden, and this is a hard idea to get into some people's brain, again, because of societal conditioning, you realize that every single feeling is a choice, right? Every single feeling is a choice, okay? It's a choice, right? We start to realize there are people in our life who we have thoughts towards, and those thoughts create a feeling, and then from that feeling, it leaves us in a bad place, right? It leaves us depressed or whatever. Your choice is that person is even in your life at all. Like, we're all making choices, okay? So you got to understand that the biggest thing here is that I am weighing everything up. I'm bringing awareness that, like, hey, I'm choosing to feel this way. Why would I choose to feel this way? It's not good. It doesn't help me. It's only going to hinder me, right? And I weigh up that kind of that reverse of it, or however you would call that, of like, cool, if I continue to feel however I feel about this thing, what will likely be the knock-on effects?
And then again, you start to realize, okay, shit, yep, negative there, negative there. It's going to affect my work performance. It's going to affect the people around me. It's going to do this. Okay, I'm just going to choose not to be like that. And it sounds easier said than done, right? For people that aren't at that stage yet, they're going to just say, oh, this is bullshit. That's fine. But I was that fucking guy who was so controlled by my emotions and by my thoughts and by my feelings, and they just happened, and I couldn't control them, and then I would just spiral, and then I'd have a bad day, and I'd have a bad week, and it was yada yada yada, and it was just constant. Whereas now, like, that doesn't really happen. And I'm not saying I'm indestructible, right? Everyone gets bad thoughts which lead to bad feelings, okay? But it's the choice of how you then deal with those and how you come to reframe them, okay? Through the process of having this lens of just reframing everything, you will have a significantly better life. Okay, number 10, and then this is also going to be kind of like the lead on as well. We're just kind of rapid fire off a few different things. So on this one, invest into yourself. Right, you get told this advice countless times. Most people don't. Most people are pussies. Most people are, oh, no, I don't want to spend that, right? Like, I literally have put myself into debt from investing into myself, right? Is that smart? No, I wouldn't recommend getting to this stage, but I would be the person, especially if you're kind of, in the more early infancy stages of your growth and your career and your skill sets. It's just like, reinvest it all back into mentorship, right? There's this stupid, crazy fucking belief right now that's going around. Like, if you're, again, it's like, be careful who you're listening to, right? So, like, you'll look on, like, a Reddit forum, and it'll be like, oh my God, this course is a scam, and it's yada, 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 and it's all that bullshit, right? And it's like, well, why are you listening to some random schmuck on fucking Reddit, right? Now, do your own due diligence and actually go and buy from someone that has a proven track record and that has, decent credibility and that you resonate with specifically, and they actually are able to show the deliverables that they're going to give to you and yada, 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 and all of that type of shit, right? But at the end of the day, like, everyone that has basically got somewhere successful in life has gone through mentorship and has heavily invested into themselves. So don't listen to this new wave of, like, everyone being called a scammer these days. It's like, and people are being called to, like, if we give Iman as an example, right? Obviously I worked with him. How can you call a man a scammer who has a 7-day no questions asked money back guarantee? Like, those two things can't exist in the same fucking narrative. So it's like, it's impossible to be scammed. You're just fucking brain dead. That's a difference. Like, the person that buys a course and just thinks their life's going to change, you deserve to be scammed, but you didn't get scammed. You just deserve to be, right? So that is the first one there. Actually invest into yourself. Like, you have to understand, people look at me and they're like, oh, you've grown a lot, right? In the kind of, few years I've been in the high ticket space specifically. Like, people are like, oh, you grew so fast. How did you do that? Like, honestly, it just came from this. Just came from being committed to the seasons and doing all these other things, but, like, just heavily investing into myself, okay? So that is the first kind of part here, and like I said, we're now going to kind of start to bang through a few more. So second one is going to be around core reviews, right? People do their own core reviews, and it's kind of just half-assed. It's really like half-baked bullshit, right? It's like, oh, I'm just going to, kind of watch back my own call. It's like, what are you even learning from that? Nothing, right? So, like, take the time, do a core review, write it the fuck out, right? Write out questions that you said that were bad and how they could have been better. I don't know what I'm trying to write there. Could have been better, right? Or a big part is, like, information that you missed that would have opened a complete different can of worms on that sales call. Because half the time, there will be an intricate little piece of information that a prospect gave you that kind of went over your head in the moment of the call, but that would have been more than likely the pathway to the sale itself, right? Like, this little hint towards something, and you're like, fuck, I wonder if I'd talked about that if I had been able to actually unlock the sale, right? So then you look at, okay, key information that I missed, right? We write out that key information, and then we write out a list of all the questions we could have asked about that topic, right? So you're getting your mind to just run in a different way. This is an actual core review. Just watching your call and just sitting there, with your dick in your hand with a smile on your face, like, you're not going to learn anything from it, right? Obviously, the alternative to this, you still want to do this always, right? I've always done this, but the alternative thing that you can do is, of course, if you're in mentorship, you can submit that, and it's a similar process, because then you have the lens of someone who is further ahead of you, going through it and fine-tooth combing it as well. And, like, for me, the biggest ways that I grow a sales team is through the core reviews, because I'll notice things that they are just never even going to notice, but that's just because I've done it for so long, right? That's nothing against the reps. That's just like a sheer repetition on my side. I've done so many repetitions that I can spot things that other people wouldn't. Okay, so very, very important that you're actually going through this and fine-tooth combing it so that you can truly grow. Next one, sleep. The only thing I'm going to say for this is just fucking watch Brian Johnson. That basically explains everything you would need in terms of how he sleeps, right? If you and understand that he is at the extreme side of it, right? So when, like, if he's a pendulum, his pendulum is all the way up here, right? You don't have to you just want to make sure you're not swinging it all the way the other way, right? If that makes sense. Like, he's on the extreme side, don't swing it to like you don't give a fuck. You're just watching your phone in your bed, and you're going to bed at random times, and all of this shit, right? And you're eating before bed, and yada yada yada. But like, take the principles of what he's teaching and apply as much of them as possible, and especially the ones that you can't be bothered to apply, right? But you notice that he's in a totally very, very dark room, right? He's very, very religious with like, I think he stops eating way too far before, but like, I'll stop eating by like 8 is like the latest that I would eat, right? And then I'll go to bed like 10, 30, 11, like it needs to be at least a couple of hours, okay? But he's very cautious about the eating side, right? Obviously, the phone one as well. But again, like, these are all things that you've been recommended 100 times and most people just aren't doing them, okay? This is exactly what fuels your engine. You will never be a high performer if you aren't optimizing these things. And there's a difference between truly optimizing it and just being like lazy and just sleeping a bunch, right? Getting a ton of sleep. Let's say the person who sleeps 9 hours, but it's really unoptimized. Like, it's in like a room with loads of natural light coming through in the morning. They've eaten loads of carbs before going to bed. They've gone on their phone loads. That 9 hours is unquality dog shit, right? Whereas this person could sleep 7 hours and they will perform significantly better than the person who slept 9, because this isn't true 9 of deep REM sleep, okay? So there is a difference between that as well. Okay, we sort of talked about this a little bit, but scary things. Do something that scares you, okay? Constantly look to do things that scare you, okay? I set some challenges with Cole, right, where we were like going through and we're doing very specific things that kind of scare us and they're just weird, and you have to, like, you know, approach strangers and ask weird stuff and blah 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 and all of those types of things, right? I went and done like singing lessons, right? I've joined like bands, right, and been the singer. So like, I joined a band and became the singer. I played guitar, right, for maybe 4 or 5 years. I played drums for ages, like 15 years or whatever, but singing is very new to me, and it feels very vulnerable. Like, I don't have that confidence in it yet. So like, I went and joined a band and we were like actually, you know, playing little studio sessions and all of that stuff, and I felt super under the microscope. It's like doing all of these little things, right? I literally signed up for a speed dating session thing because it's just that felt weird for me. The thought of rocking up to a speed dating event sober, because I don't drink, alone, right? Because I'm not going there with friends or whatever. Like, this was something that made me feel like, this is weird. So go and do it, right? It's these little scary things that will challenge you, and we sort of touched on them a little bit in the commit to the season part, but I want to be very, very clear on here is like, the moment that something's like, yep, this scares the shit out of me, just go and do it, because that will give off like an aura. It will give off an energy. Like, people will feel that energy transference, like, this person is living a life, okay? So anything that genuinely kind of scares you in the moment, just go and do it. It literally doesn't matter, right? If you see a construction site, right, and they've got like the big diggers, and you're like, oh my god, it'd be so funny if I could get a photo of me in one of those diggers. Just go up to the construction worker and ask, hey, this is so random, but like, could I just sit in that digger real quick and you can take a photo of me? What are they going to say? No, right? So that's kind of like I think it's called like rejection therapy, right? Where it's just like, you know, you're just seeking no's. You're just going to ask some stuff that's kind of out there, hoping to get a no. But a lot of the time you'll be surprised and you actually get a yes. So then what does that do? It naturally reframes you. Like, weird. I thought that this really bad thing was going to happen when I went and done this, but actually I got a positive thing. Weird. Okay, and next what I want to talk about here is the principle of, you know, here we are going through what things to do, but understanding that it is really a case of when, okay? It's like, when your state gets affected, how are you going to react? Okay, because we'll have all these things and they're ideal, right? They're all great in theory. But when your state actually changes, what becomes your natural operating system, right? We'll use that word again, or what becomes like your natural reaction. Okay, are you able to actually utilize these things and ground yourself back, or in those moments where your state gets actually massively fucked up, is it like a tumbling downfall effect, which is what most people go through? And this is the reality that like whatever you think is essentially what you create. Okay, and at the end of the day, it's very easy for me to run through all of these different things, but who are you in those moments? Okay, and this is more of this like type of principle that is more of a deeper reasoning behind it, right? Because this is really the philosophy underneath everything that I'm teaching here. Is like, it's all well and good for me to teach you those things, but who are you? Right? Who are you when those things truly happen? When these things happen, are you able to go through and do the reframes that we were talking about and do the things that are going to bring you back in and understand, okay, cool, this is a choice? Because that was the hardest part for me. People will teach you over and over and over and over and over and over again how to improve your mindset and how to become, more confident, or how to not get thrown off of state as much. But chances are when you go through it, you still experience that state imbalance. And the reason is because you don't have these kind of deep pillars of your own identity. Okay, you don't view your thoughts and feelings as a choice. You don't understand the principle of like whatever you think is what you're creating, okay? And you don't look at everything and kind of reframe it and say, okay, cool, what are all the positive things that are coming from this? Oh my God, I'm so grateful that this bad thing happened to me, because that shows that I'm alive. It shows that I'm about to grow. It shows that I'm going to change as a person. I'm going to become unrecognizable. And that is really the goal, right? But for me, this stuff just never used to happen. It never used to click. And you have to kind of go through your own areas within life to be able to make those moments click. Okay, so if there's areas of this where you feel like it just doesn't hit for you, understand that that is because you're not in that stage of life just yet, and it will come when it is the right time to do so, okay? And have faith that it will, because I was someone that really, I was trying to understand this, right? So many people that are religious, so many people that are, believe in a higher power, and, that tends to propel them to where they want to get to. And I used to try and force this. I remember I had a conversation with Paul Daly, right? The old CEO for Iman. And I literally would ask him, like, how can I get into this? And he actually bought me a Bible. But that is the difference between it happens and it's natural, right? And I hit that stage of life, compared to I'm trying to force it, right? And I don't necessarily believe in anything specific, but I do now, have this belief of there being a higher power and there being energy. And I put my faith and my trust into something greater than myself. And if you look at most of the highest performing athletes and high performers, they all talk about this. They all talk about believing in something that's greater than themselves, okay? So sometimes in life, you've got to be doing the right things, but certain areas of it won't click, right? You'll read a specific book, and it just won't hit you because you weren't ready for it yet. And that is totally fucking okay, okay? So with that being said, this has been quite a long video, and I can go on and on and on, and this has basically been like a life mentorship kind of guidance type thing. And, at the end of the day, there is certain things that are very tangible. There are some things that are a little bit more theoretical. But at the end of the day, understand that the biggest thing that will improve your sales skills and capabilities is playing the inner game, okay, and really working towards this, okay, and it's actually enjoyable. And I think one of the first principles that I said is life is a game, and when you start to treat it that way, but a game that you're being fucking competitive in, I want to make that preface, right? Everything just flows. Everything feels better, okay? We all see like these video game characters, and we're putting skill points into the virtual version of them. Just do it for yourself, right? And I think about that, right? I'm on a sales call with someone with a huge ego, and they're coming in and they're hitting me with objections. I will literally ground my feet on the floor, little breath, and I'm thinking, okay, we got to beat this boss battle. And I don't mean that I'm then just going to be like, hey, motherfucker, like, and I get pissed off, right? I'm like, taking it as like, okay, boom, this is the challenge in front of me. I need to do this in a expert way. And this is the thing that's going to allow me to basically go on to the next level. Okay. And when you really just start to gamify as many things as possible in your life, everything will shift. Okay, so this has been a little bit more of an internal type training. Hopefully this was beneficial. This was a different one for sure. It felt a little less tactical, but a little more me just being open and authentic and raw with some of the things there. There are a million things I can talk about. Okay, it's just this holistic kind of view that you should be having as towards like every little area of your life. How can I be improving this? How can I be intentional towards it? Because that will be what creates the overarching theme of a better life, right? So that is everything from me today. Appreciate you all as usual. Thank you for the rapid gains in subscribers as well. Genuinely, for me, just seeing that number grow and knowing that there are people that are like supporting means more than you would ever fathom, genuinely. And I don't know what we're at right now, like I think it's around like 530. Like if I imagine a room of 530 people, kind of blows my mind, right? And I know this isn't technically a big number by social media standards, but again, that is you being brainwashed by something like this. That's not your own original thought. For me, I reframe that number and I'm like, holy shit, imagine if there were 530 people sat in front of me. That's insane. And I'm just some random motherfucker with some green lights behind me. So the fact that I'm able to have any form of impact on anyone at any time is genuinely mind-blowing. So even if this number was 1 and there was like one very avid fan, I would be very grateful for that person. So every single one of you, thank you so much. I will catch you on the next video. Peace and love. Happy whatever day it is when you're watching this. For me, happy Saturday.